Thank you. Hello, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here, and thank you for inviting us for today's webinar to set the scene for mini-grids in displacement setting. In my presentation, I will briefly present the mini-grids partnership and provide highlights from the recently launched State of the Global Mini-grids Market Report, and finally, some considerations for adoption of mini-grids in displacement settings. So very briefly, the mini-grids partnership is a consortium of over 300 mini-grid stakeholders with a common goal of enhancing and complementing each other's work through greater collaboration and coordination in the sector. The current chair of the partnership is Amda, and SEforALL serves as a co-secretariat. In July this year, the mini-grids partnership published its State of the Global Mini-grids Market Report, which provides the latest updates on the global mini-grids market. The report highlights key industry trends, and also the goal of the report is to serve as a benchmark to measure progress for sector decision makers. The work was led by the mini-grids partnership that commissioned the report to Bloomberg Energy Finance. And I would also like to acknowledge the support we received from donors and partners on the data gathering as well as analysis of the report. Before jumping to highlights, what are mini-grids and why do we talk about them? Mini-grid can be defined as a set of electricity generators and also, if when applicable, energy storage systems interconnected to a distribution network that supplies electricity to a localized group of customers. The main feature of mini-grids is that they can operate isolated from the main grid, which enables them to be set up especially in remote locations. The value of mini-grids in developing countries is that they can offer faster access to electricity for many areas compared to grid extension, and they can act as a bridging technology until the main grid arrives. The benefits of renewable mini-grids is that they can also reduce energy costs compared to diesel generators and reduce environmental and climate impacts. Just briefly, in case of grid interconnected mini-grids, they can be used to bridge, for example, outages, and they can also provide additional ancillary services, for example, voltage control or frequency regulation. But I will not go into the detail. Focusing now on the highlights from our report, the analysis shows that over 100 million households can be served by mini-grids in sub-Saharan Africa, Asia, and island nations. This could come at a cost of approximately $128 billion of capital expenditure that is required for mini-grids. Another finding from the report is that solar mini-grids are being installed in continuously growing numbers, with the share of lithium-ion batteries increasing in the mix. As you can see on the slide, solar hybrid mini-grid systems have become increasingly competitive to other conventional and renewable technologies, and this is thanks to the continued price reductions of different solar and battery technologies. On the business models. The business models for mini-grids vary with different combinations and approaches according to who owns, finances, and operates the mini-grid assets. They vary according to technology, to customer types, to additional services that are being offered, and to tariff setting and billing. On the technology side, the AC solar hybrid mini-grids have become widely adopted, and also pre-engineered and standardized containerized systems become more available and used. When designing a mini-grid, developers also need to select which meters they want to use. And these can be conventional meters or smart meters. Smart meters offer prepayment solutions, and they also reduce the payment risk and actually eliminate the need to manually read the meter, which lowers the OPEX costs. And by using smart meters, it is possible to apply more complex tariff structures, and operators get important data on the actual operation of the system as well. In case if there is no meter, a simple load and energy limiters can be also used to cap the daily energy consumption. And this can be used, for example, as a low-cost and low-tech solution alternative. In the context of supplying electricity in displacement settings, some possible partnerships with the private sector can be explored, such as through leasing or power purchase agreements to ensure delivery and of the service and to facilitate financing. Regarding the capex breakdown, the cost of equipment represents the largest share of a capex. So a typical solar hybrid mini-grids include PV modules, AC/DC inverter, battery storage, a backup diesel generator, and then on the distribution grid, the lines, poles, and smart meters. And of these generation assets, or of these components, the generation assets are the largest component of capex, which is being followed by the distribution assets. Another point that relates to reducing LCOE, the levelized cost of electricity, is adding productive uses, such as, for example, water pumping as customers or as a load to the mini-grid. And in the report, we saw that adding productive uses can lower the LCOE by 39 to 50%. So for the operators, it is very important to have productive use customers because they can improve the daytime utilization of the power that is being produced by the solar mini-grid. Mini-grids in the humanitarian context, the humanitarian agencies often rely heavily on fossil fuels for electricity supply. Solar hybrid mini-grids can serve then as a solution to supply, for example, camps, refugee camps with reliable and sustainable power, and they also can help reduce the diesel consumption and reduce CO2 emissions. When designing solar hybrid mini-grids, it is important to really understand the energy demand, so the oversizing or undersizing of the system can be avoided. And one way how to overcome this is, for example, by measuring the actual load that is supplied by the diesel generators over, let's say, a certain period of time. And then based on the measured data, it is possible to install like a modular system where the components can be scaled over time. Another important point is that also that, or consideration, is that diesel generators can be used as a backup for critical loads, and such as, for example, health centers or the offices, and also as a backup for times without the regular sunshine, so especially during the rainy season. On the O&M side, using smart meters, already mentioned, allow developers to monitor and optimize performance of mini-grids remotely, which can help reduce the OPEX costs. And the developers usually provide technical training to local staff who are then in charge of some O&M, of some basic O&M tasks. And regarding the funding, humanitarian interventions often rely on a funding which is based on annual budgets. And the upfront investment in this case can be lowered by, for example, hybridizing the existing diesel mini-grids with renewable sources. And also, as already mentioned, partnering with private sector and exploring new business models, such as, for example, leasing and PPA, can be a good solution tailored to match the nature of the funding. So this is it from me, and I give it back to you, Ranisha. Thank you.